tell everyone who you are.
I am Justin Shepard. I am the owner, operator, and aficionado of Spencer's Coffee on the square in Bowling Green.
And let's get a little background. Are you from Bowling Green?
I'm originally from Shepherdsville, Kentucky. I moved to Bowling Green in 1999 to attend Western, and I've been here ever since. Fell in love with it and decided that this is where I wanted to plant my flag and start a business.
Okay, you started in Shepherdsville, so here, I want to go far back. When did you first fall in love with coffee? When was the first time you ever had coffee that you remember?
I actually didn't fall in love with coffee until I was here. It was while I was attending Western, and there was a free coffee house on Friday nights called Grounded that some friends of mine put on, and went there, drank coffee, stayed up too late, listened to bad poetry and that kind of thing, and just kind of got into coffee from there over the course of a number of years.
And back home, are your parents in business, or what do your parents do?
No, my dad was the jailer.
Awesome.
For 16 years. Mom is an office administrator. We weren't big into coffee or restaurants or business or any of that kind of stuff, really.
So what'd you come to Western for? Did you come for business, or what'd you come to become?
So I came to Western to study journalism, and that led me to a job at the Bowling Green Daily News for a few years as a copy editor, and working at the Daily News led me to Spencer's because I would come here every day to get my coffee. It had been opened in 2001 by some people who moved here from California, and I was a frequent customer and eventually decided it would be cheaper to just buy the business.
Was that your first job at the Daily News, or did you have jobs as kids? I mean, what's your background? What was your first job you remember?
First job was working at Burger King.
Nice.
After that, I watched kids.
What'd you do at Burger King? What was your kind of profession at Burger King?
Oh, I was a Renaissance man. I flipped burgers and sold burgers and ran the drive-thru and all that good stuff.
Okay. So you got the food industry background from the King.
Just for a few. I worked there for maybe a couple months, and then decided that.
So it was like a summer job.
Yeah. I eventually got a job in childcare, which was easier to me than the burger stuff. So.
Like, what were you doing in childcare?
Just after school care, watching kids,
okay.
YMCA.
Okay. Did you do anything after that, or did you just go straight to college?
Those were the only two actual jobs I had, aside from helping grow tobacco with my uncle.
No. Go back to that, because that's big. You worked the tobacco fields.
A little, yeah.
Is there anything that you see similarity in tobacco and coffee?
Well, I mean, they're both agricultural products, yeah. I guess. They both have to be grown, and they take a lot of labor. Obviously, I'm not involved in the growing side of coffee. They're both addictive substances. Coffee is good for you, and tobacco is not so much, but yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, so you took over a business after just being a consumer, correct? You didn't have a background in coffee.
No, when I bought the business, I had no background in coffee, no real background in management of people, no background in retail. I'd just done a little bit of marketing and a little bit of writing, and yeah.
So anyone can do this, is what you're saying?
No one should do this, but yeah. I mean, you know, it's ultimately, I think it's, for me, it comes down to being in love with the product that you sell, and then having a real heart for the people that you employ and also the people that you sell your product to. I don't have to try real hard to sell coffee because I love coffee, and I don't have to try to try really hard to serve customers well because I like my customers. Our customers are great. So, you know, the management of a business, all that boring office stuff, ordering, taxes, all those things, like that's where the headaches come in. But the actual making of coffee and selling it to people is something that I just enjoy doing.
Well, speak on that, the headaches and the boring stuff. What's the one thing, or if there's multiple, you can say that when starting a business you were not prepared to deal with, that you felt like you kind of went in there blind and were not expecting to happen opening a business?
Yeah, so I wasn't prepared for any of it, really. Particularly, I wasn't prepared for the financial aspect. I tried to do my own books for a number of years, and that led me down a very bad path of late taxes and a lot of stress. And so once I got past that and got some assistance with the accounting part, my life has been a lot easier because that's just not my skill set. There's a lot to keep track of in terms of, you know, payroll and a million different places that you've got to pay taxes and insurance and fees and licenses to. And every day it's important to have a sense of where you're at financially, because that could be the difference between placing your next order, paying your next month's rent, or not. And that was a challenge for me for a long time. Fortunately, I've got a set of good people around me who are helping me think through those things now. And it's gotten better.
So your suggestion would be get a good accountant if you're not good at paperwork and math.
I think my suggestion would be to get a good accountant no matter what, because it's just one thing that somebody can focus deeply on who has a skill set towards that, whereas being a business owner is very much like doing a really bizarre obstacle course every day. The tasks are just varied, and you've got to have your mind wrapped around a lot of different things. There's the creative side of marketing, branding, promoting your business. There's the people side of managing your employees. There's the just the mental sanity part of keeping that all balanced and organized, and that's not a skill set that I really have either, but I've had to learn it. But so yeah, there's so many variables to owning a business, no matter what it is, particularly a customer-facing retail business. And so the accounting part is something that I would not suggest anybody try to do by themselves.
When it comes to product, you guys have changed coffee providers since you opened, right? Like, you haven't been with Sunargos the whole time. How do you choose what coffee to bring to Bowling Green, since you're not roasting your own? You're
right.
Like, what's kind of the process on picking Sunargos? Why did you choose Sunargos with so many different options?
Yeah, so all the coffees we serve here are roasted by a company in Louisville called Sunargos Coffee, and they're a company that's very much ethically in the same place that I am, in terms of trying really hard to give people good products at fair prices, trying to treat their customers well, trying to have good impact on their communities, trying to establish community hubs in their own cafes, which is what we try to do here too. And they just make good stuff. I just enjoy their coffee. I have a very good relationship with them. I've been buying coffee from them for 5 or 6 years now at least. It's just a good relationship. I'm able to work with them on choosing coffees. At any given time they might have 50 samples from a certain region of the world. Say they get in a bunch of samples of African coffee. I can drive down there, taste the coffees with them, give my input, help them select things. They're very open to that. It's a very responsive company. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the product is what really matters, and they just do a really solid job with roasting coffee.
What made you decide to jump into the beer game? Some coffee shops don't offer beer, but it seems like as craft beer came to be, it almost became a marriage made in heaven for coffee houses to start offering that. But what was kind of the genesis of getting into beer and doing the beer gardens and to kind of expand from just being a coffee shop?
Yeah, so ever since the beginning, Spencer's has been sort of a coffee plus other things kind of place. When I purchased the business originally, they were doing a pretty solid amount of lunch, food, sandwiches, soups, relative to what they were doing in the coffee arena. We continued to do that, eventually expanded into breakfast stuff, because what goes better with coffee than breakfast stuff. And then the beer thing came along a few years ago. I personally started enjoying beer, craft beer particularly, and there wasn't really a place in Bowling Green at that time for someone to enjoy a beer outside of either the restaurant experience, which is sort of involved. You sit down, you're sort of expected to order a meal and eat a meal, or the bar scene, which tends to be dark and or loud. And I really just wanted a place to have a beer and chill, and that place didn't really exist. So I decided to just do it. Sort of scared about it. I was worried that, we are still in the Bible Belt South, and I was a little concerned at first that we might put some customers off, but seems like attitudes have changed toward that stuff in the last few years, and we really haven't received any negative feedback about it. We've been very careful about the selections that we offer good beer, but it's accessible to a wide variety of people. And we've also been, really strict about not over-serving people, not discounting stuff, not becoming a place that's like, hey, let's go to Spencer's and have like too many. That's not what we do. But if you want to wrap up the end of the evening with a nice beer, this courtyard is a great place to do it. We have beer-centric events out here pretty frequently. We also offer beer on the inside as well. And it's been nice. It's a very small part of our business, to be honest. As a percentage of all the other things we do, beer is not make or break for us, but it's just a nice extra thing to offer to the people of Bowling Green. Since we started doing it, there in the past few years, there have been more places that are also doing this sort of thing, and so there's lots more options for craft beer drinkers in Bowling Green than there were, say, 5-6 years ago, which is awesome. Like, it's good.
But that kind of ties together coffee and beer, because you're not only is it a liquid, it's a drink, but there's also, different flavorings. You don't just go get Budweiser and Folgers. There's palate that goes pretty broad on both of those. Yeah, they're both
beer and coffee share a lot of similarities in terms of they're very different styles of it that appeal to different people, but they can all be done with quality and with craft. There are going to be people who like dark roasted coffee. There are going to be people who like really stout porters and stouts and things like that. And there are going to be people who like lighter, fruitier coffees, people who like IPAs, people who like Pilsners, and there are people who just don't care, both ways, who are open to pretty much any coffee and pretty much any beer, like whatever will get the job done. But there's a lot of variety, and that's probably one of my particular interests, is just, when I get into something, I get into it and I want to know everything about it, and I want to try all the various ways it can be offered. And so with coffee, although I have very particular preferences, I want to offer people a wide range of stuff. And the same thing with beer, the same thing with food, which we continue to sort of experiment with, and are hoping to be doing some really cool new food stuff in the pretty near future.
So what's your
loud
favorite?
over there.
Yeah, it's fine. I got a microphone. So what's your favorite coffee and what's your favorite beer currently?
Oh, those are hard questions. I guess my favorite coffee
Currently.
is usually the one that I'm drinking.
What are you drinking?
So right now I'm just drinking our Front Porch Blend, which is our house blend that we have brewing all the time, every day. It's just a really balanced, well-rounded cup of coffee. People who want to add milk to their coffee, it holds up well with milk. People who don't, it's still smooth enough to be enjoyed on its own.
Okay, and what's your favorite beer right now?
Favorite beer right now is probably a beer called Scatterbrain, which is from Bearded Iris in Nashville. It's an IPA. It's very juicy floral beer. We'll actually have it on tap on this Friday in our beer garden.
Which will already pass when we put this out there.
Okay, well let me change my favorite beer then.
No, that's a good one. That's good, and you do. That's the other thing we should talk about. You do bring people in. You do bring people in to kind of feature beers in at your beer garden, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are some of the ones you've had that are regional?
Well, right now, we're pretty excited because a few months back we started serving Monic beers on tap all the time. Monic is a relatively new brewery in Louisville. Again, I have friends that are friends of friends and all that sort of thing. I got connected with them, and they just do really awesome, really outstanding beers that are affordable, but that are definitely like craft. And so we have them on all the time. They're sort of like our house brand, if you will. So that's been fun.
Let's put you right. I don't remember if you told me this or not, or I'm just making this up in my head. Didn't you at one point want to do a record store and then you pivoted?
Yeah, so when I first had the idea of owning a business, it was really any business. I wasn't sure what it would be, and so looked into ideas like a bookstore, decided against that. Thought very seriously for a time about opening a record store. This was in 2004, I guess, and once I talked to some people who owned record stores, they unanimously told me that it was the worst job, so I skipped doing that. I've since met Matt Pfefferkorn, who does Mellow Mats, and he seems to really enjoy it, but most people told me to stay away from that. So I was just a customer at Spencer's. I went in every day, multiple times, and saw a lot of potential there. Found out that the owners might be willing to sell it, and we started that discussion, and that's kind of how that went.
And your other passion that most people don't know is pizza. What's your favorite pizza?
I do love pizza.
What's your favorite pizza? Do you have one that's in town or in the state or in Nashville? Where's your favorite pizza right now?
Ooh. So, I love pizza. Pizza's great. And pretty much all pizza is like pretty good. I'm particularly a fan of wood-fired Neapolitan style pizzas, which Bowling Green doesn't really offer right now. Blaze pizza would probably be the closest to the style I'm thinking. Pizzas here in town that I really enjoy so far, I like Josh's Pizzas at Home cafe that he makes. Those are personal sized pizzas, but those are really enjoyable. Okay.
Okay, and if anyone knows you and follows you, you have your own, you're like Joe Jackson, you have your own family band that's starting. So tell us about the family and the music.
Okay, so my wife Shelly, we met while she was here in Bowling Green and I was here in Bowling Green, and she was doing singer-songwriter type acoustic music, and so she and I really met through music, and I recorded some electric guitar parts on top of her songs for an album that we were recording at my house. One thing led to another. We got married. We had kids, as tends to happen, and so my boys, Lewis and Owen, are both super into music. Lewis particularly is very good at music. They're both on the autism spectrum. Lewis has a real gift for tempo and rhythm and tune. So our garage is pretty much full of instruments, and we just jam out there all the time. Lewis on the drums and me on the guitar seems to work the best, but we switch it up and do all sorts of things.
Hey, thanks Justin for doing the interview.
You're welcome.